All right, you've noticed the three most important people are here this week, and here comes our fourth person, Mark Rogers. Now, for those of you who may not know, the three of us are here in the state of Florida. Mark's in the state of Connecticut, and he's had to deal with the most from a hurricane. Welcome to Florida State Seminoles Live, the 66th edition of Fanfare here. I am Jason Parker from WTVJ NBC6 in Miami. MarkRogersTV is stuck in the middle. He's frozen. He's on his hotspot right now. He's going to try to stay with us for as much as he can here. Mark, can you hear us? Mark cannot hear us, but you know who can't hear us? Logan Robinson from Noel Game Day. Logan, how are you doing in Tallahassee?
I'm doing phenomenal. Mark has been without power. I feel really bad for him. It's brutal up there. But we have felt that way before. Now he gets to feel how it is to live in Florida. It sucks, definitely during the summer when we lose power for 2 nights. And then when hurricanes hit, it's like a week. So we're going to try to hold it down. I think we can do it. James is like in and out too. He might have gotten hit with the hurricane too. But we're going to hold it down here for Mark.
I think this thing doesn't work in Safari, man. I have to use it I have to actually use it through the Twitter app.
Big Game James Coleman is in the house. Big Game James, how you doing in the 904 right now? How are you doing up there?
I'm doing good. I'm trying to eat clean.
Why?
Like Jacoby McDaniel.
Oh, dear God.
And when I figured out Freddie Stevenson is an actual fullback, I was like, well, damn, let me get my slim. Let me try to get slim again. So I'm gonna make these youngins proud.
All right. Well, you keep eating clean, Mark. If you're with us, if you can hear us, stay safe. Hopefully your power gets back. Mark may come in and out here. Who knows what's going to happen here over the next hour? But we will give you the best in Florida State coverage. And of course, the best thing is we have a schedule. Florida State, obviously, last week the ACC announced who Florida State will be playing, as well as the other 14 teams. That's right, 14, because Notre Dame all of a sudden is a part of this party. Logan, I'm going to start with you. Florida State's new schedule, and it will be announced, obviously, Thursday at 9 a.m. The conference will announce the dates, but we do know the opponents. Initially, and we talked about this, a little bit about this last week, I was pissed because I was pissed with our schedule, and we'll go into it over the next couple minutes here, but what is your initial thought with Florida State's new schedule? We're going to go over it real quick. Florida State will play Clemson, Georgia Tech, North Carolina, Pitt, and Virginia at home. And on the road, they will have Duke, Louisville, Miami, NC State, and Notre Dame. What are your thoughts?
Obviously, the number one thing is at Notre Dame. And, you know, that's that. That's all that. And I think it'll create a better conversation whenever we're talking later about it. But the number one storyline to me, it's really two, but having 2 former FSU quarterback commits coming at home to Tallahassee with Jeff Sims, and also you've got homeboy Sam Howell with North Carolina. They'll be heading into Tallahassee. So I think that's going to create a good little storyline there. Obviously, Sam Howell will be a starter there. Jeff Sims working up as a freshman. But I think that's something that will be fun to, talk about heading into those games, all depending on when we learn tomorrow when those games will be played. Then, of course, you got at Notre Dame, which I think is obviously FSU fans weren't too happy about that. I do think, though, if Florida State does start the season off against Notre Dame, it's better for them, and we can probably argue and talk about that later. But really, those 3 games I think are really interesting. And I'm really looking forward to having Georgia Tech come down to Tallahassee. I think it's a good game. I think it'll be smooth, and I think Florida State has an advantage there as they're working into a new system, new coaching staff. So I think it will be. I think those 2 games, North Carolina and Georgia Tech, for me, are some good storyline games to keep an eye on. And I think Florida State, a lot of fans are complaining about it, and Clemson might get a better route and whatever. But, this is nothing new. Shouldn't really complain too much about it. You just got to be ready to get up and compete. And I think that's what the new mentality is under Mike Norvell and staff. Don't whine too much about it. Take the challenge.
James, looking at the schedule, obviously the big thing that first struck me was the fact that Florida State is only playing 3 teams in their own division. They're only playing Clemson at home, and then road games at Louisville, at NC State. There's no Boston College. There's no Syracuse. There's no Wake Forest. I have a little problem with that. I have a problem with the fact that you're telling me Florida State can't go travel to Syracuse, but they can go travel to South Bend, Indiana. What are your thoughts when you take a look at the new schedule Florida State will face?
I mean, I think the 8 games should still be the standard. I mean, there's only 3 teams on this schedule. Excuse me, my bad. There's only 2 teams on the schedule that you just aren't really better than top to bottom from coaching to playing, and that's Notre Dame and Clemson. So people are saying, "Oh, we got a hard draw. The schedule does no favors for us." That's just a wussy-fied mentality. You got to stop that. Either Mike Norvell is better than Willie Taggart, or he's not. If he's better than Willie Taggart, which I believe he is, he's a better coach. So this should be a better draw. This should help. I would much rather play Wake Forest or Syracuse or Boston College than Notre Dame. But I mean, it's a better schedule. I like football. I don't care about this. I like how we built the program. The baddest ass fights the baddest ass. You can't duck competition and try to be great. So I mean, that's the reality of that. Do I like it in South Bend? Not really. I would much rather have. I don't like 5 home games. I think you should try to keep as many home games as you possibly can. But that's kind of the way that the luck of the draw and how everything kind of falls into place. So, with that being said, I guess like Logan said, it just is what it is. It's the new mentality. You got to take it right.
Yeah, I'm all about big games. I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, obviously, Florida State hasn't been on that same kind of program path as they usually went through. You know, when Florida State won a national championship in 2013, and you wouldn't be worried really about playing maybe at Notre Dame or something like that. These are some good, entertaining games with storylines. I know a lot of fans are really whining about it early on, and that's understandable too. But these are some fun games, and it's a first year head coach with Mike Norvell in Tallahassee. It sucks. It's a bad situation. It's a bad situation for everybody. No one got to have a spring either. So just take it as it is. At least you'll have some good teams with great storylines coming in. Obviously, you had Notre Dame. Like I said, the 2 storylines with North Carolina with the up and coming team. You get to compete and try to see, is Florida State's defense a real deal? Well, you're going to face North Carolina. You're going to face against Georgia Tech. And I think, it's just a crappy situation maybe for some fans thinking that, that Florida State's going to get routed. But like James said, if this staff is better like we may think it is than Willie Taggart's had, there should at least be some competition here, and you should see some excitement to where, you going into the next season, there should be some positives you take from these games. You just can't sit down. This is still Florida State,
My biggest beef with it, and I talked about this with Mark earlier, and I've talked about this in a couple other podcasts. My big beef of it is if you're going to sit here and say we don't want Florida State to travel to Syracuse because of travel restrictions, and I get that. I completely understand it. That completely makes sense. Then don't send Florida State to South Bend, Indiana. Don't send Georgia Tech to go play Boston College when they're in other divisions. That's my beef with it. Here's
the thing about the ACC in general, man, and these restrictions, and I'm with you on that. It's BS. It's the most controlled environment that you could possibly get. You charter a plane. It's not like you're flying commercial. Like you got to go through the airport. You drop to the tarmac. The airplane pilot is probably taking the test. The stewardess is taking the test. Everybody in that situation don't have COVID. You got to charter buses. You hope to have bus drivers that don't have COVID. You want to probably take control of every aspect of the hotel experience. Those people can't have COVID and be around you. So, like, to be honest with you, it's better an hour and a half plane flight is better than a 3-hour bus ride. It just, I mean, those are just the reality with this stuff. So, I mean, that whole protection, we're going to play in conference, blah, 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 it's BS. And we kind of almost fell into it. The only reason we have a +1 is we didn't think Florida was going to punk out. We didn't think the SEC West was going to win out in the SEC conversation. And we thought Florida's logo held weight. Thought Georgia's logo held weight. But none of their logo, because we thought South Carolina had a little weight. Pretty much everybody who was in the SEC East got punked by the SEC West. So you had to duck your rivals for a year. Live with that. But that's what the ACC would have done had we known. They would have just folded over. And so, I mean, that whole, it's about player safety. If it was about player safety, you know what we would be having right now? We wouldn't be talking about having a season. So it's not about player safety. It's about the most interesting, intriguing matchups. Nobody wants to see FSU play Syracuse after they've lost a lot of stuff. Nobody wants to see us pummel Boston College, who lost their quarterback, lost their running back, lost a lot of other top guys. And with the new coach, nobody wants to see that. But FSU, Notre Dame, no matter how bad either team is, that's going to always be an interesting matchup.
And James segued to our next point here because I was going to try to keep it clean, but James hit the nail on the head on this one. Let's give a big clap to the University of Florida for punking out. And the reason why I'm going to throw their athletic director Scott Strickland, I believe, scumbag Strickland, whatever you want to call it, whatever the last name you want to give him on this one, because he made various comments saying the Florida State game was the most important. The Florida State game was the most important game on the schedule. And then Florida was one of the 13 teams in the SEC that voted to go with the conference-only 10-game schedule when they voted. So for the first time since 1957, Florida and Florida State will not play. Logan, you're in Tallahassee. You grew up with this rivalry. What are your thoughts on the fact that for the first time since the late 1950s, we are not going to see the Gators and the Noles play this season?
I am still keeping the mentality that I like big games, even though it would be a really tough game for Florida State this year to play Florida. I'm all for rivalries, and I think it's some sissy SHIT crap. I mean, it sucks. I thought the SEC was some big dogs, and they can face anybody and whatever at any place, any time. But it's pretty funny how that works. They're going to opt out against playing Florida State, which is really, really, really embarrassing. Obviously, it's a different year. It's a wild year that we've been in. I feel like we've been in it for like 3 years now. This year is not going to end anytime soon. So the whole deal with Florida State not facing against Florida, coming as a student, whatever, really sucks. I was really looking forward to it. It just is what it is. But I do think the SEC does take a little hit here on not, being up and showing off their big ol' showing off their pride and, wanting to go face against, most of these too, ACC, SEC, are in state that they can play against. And it's just a bus ride down and back real quick. So it's a little embarrassing. I don't think we have I don't think Mark has a Florida live show. I can't really roast on anybody, but it's
Gator Dave. Gator David Waters.
Yeah, where's Gator George?
David Waters. David Waters. That's how I met. That's how I met David Waters. That's Mark's SEC live.
Wow.
David's been ducking me. David hasn't been like
Cam Underwood. Sham
Underwood.
I'm starting
who always talks trash when they win in a few little games, but disappears when they start losing.
I will get a chance
of the poor.
This weekend. I will get a chance to deal with Cam on his Miami. I'm going to his house. I'll be on their podcast on Saturday. So we'll handle Cam. You can handle David next time on the Gator podcast. But James, the only school to vote against the SEC playing a conference-only schedule was South Carolina, who arguably has the least chance of beating their ACC foe. Florida State at least has a little bit of a chance of beating Florida. Georgia Tech has a little chance of beating Georgia. Louisville has a chance of beating Kentucky and vice versa. South Carolina virtually has no chance, and they still said, we want to play Clemson. Does South Carolina have bigger stones than Florida? Is that what we're saying here?
I think what it comes down to is this. They knew it wasn't going to pass. They knew the conference goes, and this is rightfully so. This is just all respect. This is not as much disrespect, and it's a lot of jokes and embellishment we're giving to Florida. But it's just we understand how the conference goes. Whatever Nick Saban says goes. Nick Saban said, I don't feel like dealing with that. So that was it. Wasn't no conversation, wasn't no discussion. It was, yes, sir, Mr. Saban, let's roll. If Auburn was in the Big 12, you know what the SEC would have had? They would have had a +1. If LSU had a rival in the Big 12, if LSU and Texas was a major rivalry, they would have had a +1. It would have been a +1 if it was necessary, but it wasn't necessary. So that's really how it came down to it. And instead of fighting and at least putting up a show of good faith, Florida just said, we're going to do groupthink. Not just Florida, Georgia did the same thing. And that's fine. That just shows like what it really is. Because the thing is, a lot of these rivalries wouldn't happen if it wasn't for major push by the powers that be in the state to make these things happen.
Now, Logan, you've talked about this on Mobile Game Day. You guys broke this down a couple days ago. Now, the ACC did stipulate that that each team can have one possible game, one possible non-conference game among ACC teams, and there's a possible interesting opponent that Florida State could face. And I want to get your story on that, and then I want to get James's thoughts on it. So, Logan, break that down for us.
Are we talking about the Rattler strikes?
The Fighting Willie Simmonses from over on the other side of Gain Street. Yes.
Well, last week I was just tipped off by somebody close to the FAMU administration over there, and this was on Thursday, and they had sent in their waiver to the NCAA Oversight Committee to try and secure Florida State as their in-state non-conference game. Obviously, their season was suspended a few months ago, but they're still trying to petition with the MEAC, which they're leaving them with the MEAC right now to play their 4 non-conference games and add in Florida State to that mix. I said last Thursday that it would probably be a small chance of that happening because there's a lot of rumors that Samford is still going to stick with Florida State's schedule this upcoming season. But I think it's a good move, at least from FAMU, to at least try it. Like I said, this dog is going to piss me off here in a second. I think it's a good idea, definitely for Miami FAMU to show up and, be like, hey, at least send in the waiver. See if, they got to go through a lot of channels anyways to even have a chance at this happening. But obviously, I think it'd be a great game if it were to, if it were to happen. I think it'd be really cool. And obviously, it's not a long travel at all. It would create a little bit of some fun here in Tallahassee that hasn't happened in a while, maybe, but I don't know. I don't see it really happening right now. I do think Samford is like a 70-30 chance right now of the game still going on with the Bulldogs.
James, I love FAMU. I love partying over there. I love going to the games. I love dating women who went over there. When I was in school at FSU, I love FAMU. I own a FAMU shirt. Do you think Florida State and FAMU should play in football?
No. But that's just from being a local resident, local South Side of Tallahassee resident. But I had heard about this about a couple weeks ago. I got a lot of good friends that work over there in athletics, and we put that in fifth quarter. That it was funny that was the game that they were trying to push, and I was like, that's cute. But like Logan just said, it's looking like Samford's going to be that team on the schedule, and I do know for a fact that it was though an emotional response. President Thrasher was visibly pissed. Like, I believe if President Thrasher could have put hands, if it wasn't a Zoom meeting, he probably would have put hands on President Fox, because there was their banter over the last during this COVID during the president every Friday there's a president's meeting with every president of the state of Florida, so they all talk with each other. I remember explicitly when there was talk that they would cancel seasons. If we're going to make sure the Florida State-Florida game gets played. One person said if we have to play said school 12 times to get our 12 games, we will play this game 12 times. So for that not to happen, that becomes a little bit odd. So President Thrasher made a comment that we will just play our 10 conference games, which I was like, yeah, that's a little emotional. I doubt that happens. Plus, Samford gives FSU a chance to possibly be 2-0. As I believe that first game is going to be either Georgia Tech, Pitt, or UNC coming out the gate. I pray it's not Notre Dame, and I pray they're not dumb enough to give us Clemson out the gate. That would be terrible for FSU. But FAMU.
Would you put it past the ACC to put Clemson, Florida State number 1? Because they've done some stupid things. I would not put it past.
I wouldn't. But I have a good faith that I doubt that. I wouldn't put it past them, but I doubt it. But the FAMU thing is something that's kind of indicative of what our society is right now. It's past hurts that haven't been rectified, right? So, and a lot of those past hurts get misconstrued with what's going on in today's society. So right now, there are two major universities competing for the same space, competing for students on an academic level, competing for a lot of things. They share an engineering school. FAMU originally had a law school, and that law school was taken from them and given to FSU, which they ended up getting a law school back. There's a lot of fighting for state funds. There's a lot of different things. So, and there was a lot of things that we saw with when they brought up the Doak Campbell story, things that Doak Campbell did to try to, maybe lessen what the Black experience was, an educational experience there. So there are some hurts. Even stemming back to when FAMU beat the University of Miami at Doak Campbell Stadium, with FAMU allegedly not even being able to utilize the lockers and having to essentially get dressed at FAMU, bus over, play the game, almost like a high school game. So those are some things that have never have happened. There have been some things that have happened. There hasn't been much reconciliation. There's been some working together with the athletic departments. I like with FAMU getting the scoreboard for baseball, and I believe FSU's old scoreboard as well for football. So there are things like that, but it's easy for us in media, the athletes, and those people to get over it, but the city doesn't. So like when I go to my cigar lounge, which is over right by FAMU's campus, I gotta hear BS about stuff that happened before my mama was born. I got to hear about stuff that, I don't want to say BS because that makes light of it, but I got to hear about these situations, got to hear about these issues. And when this FAMU, so there was a not viral, but there was a video of a FAMU player who got the best of a couple guys at FSU inside the indoor practice facility. And that happens. But it's a lot different when it's 11 on 11. And you got Big Marv, you got Honey Fried Marv eating your guards up. And eating your quarterback up, and now you get a jump ball, and now you get your sternum broke because Nas hit you right in the chest because you had to reach up. It's different. And so what happens with that, when that pride gets through and the clear differences happen, which typically happen in like the third or fourth quarter, even with the best FCS schools, you're going to see an ass whooping. And that ass whooping ain't going to do nothing good for the city. It sounds good. It's dope. But just remember, the last time FAMU and Florida State did something that was this close was a basketball game that ended in a brawl. And it's not a black or white thing. It's not any of those different things. It's a pride thing. And the HBCU pride runs deep, especially in the city where you got half that city, or excuse me, a lot of the black people in that city really go hard for FAMU. And including me, I'm a booster. I'm a bigger booster at FAMU than I am at Florida State.
Well, let's talk about that, James. Come on, man. Support your Knowles. Come on, man.
Florida State don't need my money. They got my ticket money. They got plenty of money. FAMU need way more money than Florida State does.
FAMU has $32 for that FAMU shirt that I used to rag Logan the other day. I mean, you can support your Knowles. Come on, give them a little bit. Come on, man.
Rattler strike. Rattler
now,
strike.
But I want to see that. And hold on, and the ACC banned the bands.
Yes.
There's no reason for us to play FAMU if we can't see the March 100 in the dances.
March 100, yeah.
No, yeah, the March 100, but I'm not talking about explicitly talking about the other ones, like the ladies who can.
James, we got to keep it classy here. We got to keep it clean here, okay? So we all know what you're talking about. We all know exactly what you're talking about because we were all thinking the same thing. But you're both from Tallahassee. You're both from Tallahassee. How would a game between Florida State and FAMU either be good? Because James hit the nail on the head. Obviously, the reason they don't play in any of the big sports, basketball, baseball, football, is that brawl at the basketball game in 1992 and whatnot. And that's why they've said we're not going to play in any of these big sports. How would a game between the two either would it do more to bring the city together, or would it do more to divide? Logan, I want to start with you because because you both grew up different sides of town, different areas of Tallahassee. I want to get each one of your opinions.
All I've heard is that there has been some mishaps before whenever they've gotten together, so it'd probably be a little bit more divide than anything. I'm too young to really know about all of it all back in the day. Sadly, I can't give my point of view on that route, but obviously I think it's more of a just little hype thing. I don't think it happens. I think obviously your better route is you have Sanford come in, you play them as scheduled. You already have been watching game film. Coaches have been watching game film. Mike Norvell has been watching game film on Notre Dame and Georgia Tech and Duke for a good while now. So it's all about preparing for the team. And like James said, this game probably wouldn't last for more than maybe 2 drives or whatever, and it'd probably be over. And it really wouldn't do much. I think playing better competition at least would make it for a game that's worth it, rather than, you get a win and, oh, well, schmo, well, let's go party. I mean, just let's have a little bit of competition. Last time Sanford came to Tallahassee, it was fun. Also, they had my boy, Devlin Hodges, who absolutely annihilated Florida State's defense. But, I could have done that against Florida State's defense. So
that wasn't saying much in that 2018 defense. James, divide or help? Would a FAMU Florida State game divide or help?
No, I mean in today's climate, I don't think it would do any more harm or any more good. I just think it's just one of those things that it's a lose-lose situation. So it's something that you shouldn't put yourself into if you're Florida State. But if you're FAMU, it does help. It helps other, and I think Courtney's done a really good job as an athletic director there by putting them on the map, like just saying, "Hey, listen, we got this powerhouse in our backyard. We're not afraid of them. They go play everybody else. Make them say no." And I'm not mad at that strategy because you know it's going to be a no, but it's a better strategy than not because let's be real, Sanford ain't much more talented.
Right.
Sanford doesn't have a first round graded left tackle on their team. FAMU does, which is wild because he transferred. I still don't understand that part. But anyways, FAMU has a guy who's first or second round grade. But I just think I think it would be fun if we were in a different climate. I think what colleges should do anyway is instead of the controlled scrimmage against you, just think about how this is a pie in the sky thing that will never happen. But think about how fun spring jamborees are on the high school level. Just imagine if you were able to have a controlled scrimmage with another university that you probably never will play. But it's just something that you do. There's no winner. You just literally call plays, try to get a good look against somebody else. And
a FAMU Florida State spring game, I think, should be the way it should go. And you could have Bethune play Florida. You could figure it out like that. Spring games would be a phenomenal idea between schools. I personally think that. You never played spring jamborees? Am I the only one who played spring jamborees in high school?
No, I played spring. My bad. I just got a text. I was trying to figure out if I wanted to break that on here or not. But yeah, I played spring jamborees 3 years.
That was a flex, James. That was a flex right there. That was a flex. That's what the kids call a flex.
My bad.
He's over here flexing. Now that
did Logan just say that's what the kids call it? Logan, come on.
I'm about to be 23 in a few days. Come on.
Congratulations. Happy early birthday from us here at Florida State Live with MarkRogersTV.
Wait, you're a Leo too, Logan?
Oh, yeah. That's why we're leaders, James. That's why we're leaders. We're entrepreneurs.
God, unfortunately.
I mean, if you're not a Leo, you ain't really a times by giving this, That's what I heard.
But you were talking about spring, but imagine, because here's what people don't know. If you're a person on this time on my timeline on this thread, one, you need to be pushing the like button, as my man Logan says. If you've never been to an HBCU game, it is an experience. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to tell you it's the greatest quality of football. Some are really, really good. Some aren't. But the atmosphere, the way that the band, the tailgating is different. It's just like Florida State is a business. They control every aspect of the game day experience from about it's 5 miles out of surrounding. Is that fair enough to say? Or is that even maybe longer than that? But like you park here, the Florida State getting the cut. You sell a Florida State T-shirt with anything on it, Florida State getting the cut. If you're cooking, you better have a parking permit to be able to tailgate there, and you better be doing it a certain way. So and you can only have so many people. If they really wanted to put their thumb on the drinking experience, they really could, but they don't. But again, every aspect of the game day experience is controlled. And most of the PWIs, which stands for predominantly white institutions that I've ever gone to a game, have something very similar to that. It is very good. I wish HBCUs had that, but they don't. But in that, there is a freedom and a fun that you'll never have. There is even the games. If you are row 1, seats 4, 5, 6, and 7, that's where you sit. At an HBCU game, if you in them stands, it is your ticket number is implied. Like, just get there when you get there. Yes, just be in a certain area and you're there. My son, who has more access than most people have, he got to be with me at Florida State games. Ain't no moving around. He has played in the end zone at a FAMU game, possibly while the game is still going on. Like with other kids, you can walk in. I can walk out to my tailgate at a FAMU game and walk right back into the stadium. it ain't really you walk out Doak Campbell if you want to and try to get back in there, unless you really know that person. It's just it's a different experience, and the band is playing music that you just heard on the radio. Like I don't know how they do that. They don't make like band music for the Box for Roddy Ricch. But somehow I guarantee you FAMU knows how to play the Box right now by Roddy Ricch.
I will say this, in covering when I worked at the station in Tallahassee, covering the FAMU homecoming game was an experience. It was fun. I ate better than I've ever eaten in my entire life. I listened to the Marching 100 playing Go DJ and every other song from Lil Wayne in 2004 and 2005. Back in the day, it was definitely an experience. But no matter whether you go to
the
Florida,
Sausage Man across the street by Gaither Gym, like that dude right there is world recognized. You don't even got to see. What you do is people see you eating some. Hey, I got that from the Sausage Man over there. And they just this point.
You get the fish
automatically
sandwich.
Know where you're going.
The fish sandwiches on the white bread, that's where it was at right there. Was the fish sandwiches. Logan, how many FAMU games did you go to?
You really been, Jason.
I have been. Fish sandwich on the white bread. I'll tell you a story later about that. Go ahead, Logan.
How many games have I been to? Only 10. Only 10. I got to get it up a little bit. No, I'm just kidding. I have not been to 10. I wanted to go multiple times. My boy here, my roommate, played quarterback in FAMU. Had him come visit a few times, so he was going to play, but he went the nursing route. So I've never been to one, but I would love to go. Obviously, I love the Marching 100.
But no matter whether you go to Florida State or FAMU, you have one job you can do, and that's hit the like button, right, Logan?
You can always hit that like button and hit the share button. You can even go up and hit the subscribe button while Mark isn't even here. 45 people watching, 31 likes. The thing is, we're getting better at liking earlier on, but we're at 31 likes. If we can get that to 50 at least, I know we're on a night that we don't usually go live, but every night on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern, definitely come here. We talk Florida State and that Florida State football, a little bit of recruiting analysis, and we go and preview games and post-game stuff and give our reactions. But that's every Tuesday night. Hit the like button so then it'll be shared to more FSU fans, and you can come hang out with us and give our amazing and really professional analysis. And you might even see Mark Rogers and Jason fight each other over, Willie Taggart and Jimbo Fisher and Mike Norvell.
Real quick, guys, for Lakers all day dope here. Miami had the same record as Florida State, right, last year?
Yeah, we did.
Same record, right? 6 and 7. They both had the same record. Okay. Bye, Lakers. Anyway, moving on. So we're going to move on to the schedules real quick because Florida State will actually hit the practice field. First fall practice is scheduled for this Friday. Hopefully, things don't change in the next 2 days between then we'll cancel that. But in our current state, who knows what's going to happen over the next 2 days. But Florida State scheduled to hit the field, first fall practice under new head coach Mike Norvell. I wish I could say what's going to happen. I wish I could say what are we going to build on. Logan, what do you expect to see? What do you want to see? What are your big takeaways for fall practice?
I think right off the bat, on top of my head, is Chubba Purdy, first of all, gets to get out on the field. He has not been able to really see the field at all. He just now recently got able to be back with workouts. So, and he just arrived just about a month ago. So I've heard some good things about him interacting with, making friends and guys with the veterans there on staff. And obviously Tate Roadmaker didn't really get much either. He got a little bit of workouts, and then they had 3 practices, and that was axed, and he didn't really get to see much. So that will give some of these freshmen to start connecting and getting some experience with wide receivers. Obviously, they've already had installs for months now and whatnot. So getting out there and, actually start putting on a little bit of pads and doing shoulders and put on shells after a few days of practice, I think it will be nice for these quarterbacks to start getting some playing, get some chemistry going with some of these wide receivers, and even these running backs too that have a lot of different abilities of running. I also want to see LaDamian Webb and how he's going to go being that true number 2. I don't even think it's like a 1 and 2 situation. I think LaDamian Webb's going to take a good amount of carries this upcoming season. But I think really the storyline is those quarterbacks coming in. I still predict James Blackman to be the starter. But I just want to see the energy that's about to come out. I'm not even on the field. I don't even play football right now at all. And I'm ready to just get going. You know, staying at home and doing all this kind of crap, I can guarantee you these guys don't want to be doing that. They want to get out there and start hitting each other because they've gained weight, they put on good muscle, and they're happy with what they're looking like right now, and they want to go showcase it and get after it and go hit somebody. So I'm ready to get going. When Friday hits, I'm going to be up early. We're going to be just hype listening to Meek Mill right when I wake up, because there's a good chance that, you know, we're actually going to have some football here in a little bit of a month.
Oh, look, wait a minute with that Meek Mill. Hold on a second. James, now, Florida State obviously went through less than a handful of practices during the spring. So what does Florida State need to do to make up for that lost time? How are things going to be look different than a normal fall practice? Because you alluded to it, we're at a different time, things are going to change. What is Florida State going to do differently than they may have done had we had a normal spring?
I mean, you just got to increase the intensity. You have to hope that the upperclassmen are and upperclassmen, including James Blackman and these guys, are coming in and really being the true leaders. And they've got to jog to reps. I mean, jog to the different jog to do different reps. They've got to be 100% each play, and that's the only way that you can replicate that of a game. They've got to be intense. They can't take it easy on each other. They got to be, the DBs have to be trying to take these wide receivers' heads off. The wide receivers have to be trying to tear ACLs. The running backs got to run through face masks. That's the only way that these guys are going to get any better and try to catch up. Especially if you do have to have an unfortunate where you got to play at Clemson or Notre Dame again, which I doubt. But even if you play in Pitt, Georgia Tech, or North Carolina, you want to make sure that you're ready by week 1 to be able to impose your will on somebody. And the problem would be if you try to overcompensate for the 12 practices that you missed in the spring. You have to right now have a game plan from this Friday all the way up until September 12th, I believe is what the ACC said they're going to try to have the kickoff. But from Friday to September 12th, you have to be ready for that game. That's what everything has to be preparing to do that, and you have to make sure you do it. So you may have to do 24 periods, 24 periods with what we used to call ABCD. ABCD are optional. You're giving those 20 minutes to the program. The 24 periods are part of what your obligation is in your 20-hour rule. So you may be having a little bit longer practices and schedule some breaks, and you may not be able to have those 15-period practices because you can't afford it.
Who are the players who you think have the most to prove during fall practice, heading up to whoever the first game is that we will find out on Thursday? But what player do you think has the most to prove during fall practice leading up to the first game? James, I'm going to start with you.
To be honest with you, it's the two guys that we consider the best players on the team. If you look at what Todd McShay has said about Marvin Wilson is a second to third round grade. That's complete. That is extreme disrespect. I can 100% understand where he's coming from. If you go back and you watch the film, you see times when Marvin does disrupt, but it's not as dominant as what you would think. It's a lot of times when he plays very, very too hot, and that's not what you saw from Brown from out of Auburn. You got to see Marvin with his new form body that he has got under Coach Storm's guidance, not under Coach Storm's, because Coach Storms hasn't been working these guys like that, but under the guidance of his program, you got to hope he's that. And then the other one is Tamarind Terry. It's a lot of talk on Twitter, and there's a lot of big plays from him, and you can't negate a 1,000-yard season. But we've seen a lot of drops. We saw a lot of opportunities where he wasn't utilizing the best of his ability, where the ball got snatched away from him on a comeback route, or where you fumble the ball when you're in a driving position in a bowl game. Things that you don't want from your number one, your scorer. But outside of that, Coburn or Webb, somebody has to arrive in the running game, because you just lost Cam Akers. And that running back position, no matter what anybody wants to say, dating back to God knows when. Shoot, at least Chris Thompson, you've had a guy get drafted. I think Chris Thompson came after me. No, Deuce wasn't drafted. But anyways, dating back to Chris Thompson, you've had a guy go to the NFL and play a good amount of time. So you've got to have a guy come in and really establish themselves. And what Mike Norvell was able to do at Memphis through committee was be able to do everything.
Logan, what do you think?
I agree with the Corbin take too. I do think, everybody's solidifying him as being a true number one to kind of fill that role of how it's been with Cam Akers, Dalvin Cook, like you mentioned, Chris Thompson, Devontae Freeman, even James Wilder, throw him in there. But, you know, I want to see more game film. I want to see him get into games and see what he really brings to the table. I want to see how he fits. So I want to see how he goes through practice and see how they're really going to utilize him, because he's got a lot of pressure on him too. You know, Laybourne's not there. So, you know, a lot of more production might be put on you. And I think LaDamian Webb's going to push him quite a bit. I think he's got a tank guy. He kind of is built like Devontae Freeman, maybe even a little bit more meatier. And he's got good balance, and he's just a guy really hard to tackle. And I think he's got a lot of pressure on him heading into this camp. Another guy, big time pressure is DJ Matthews. Is he gonna have some kind of, you know, wake up call here and create some consistency? Is it all because of he can't go north and south? He just keeps on going east and west. Too much shifty, too much backspin, trying to get on ESPN Sports Center top 10. Because the thing with him, you know, he doesn't really have much more room to do that. I feel like in this staff, if you keep pulling that stunt, you're just going to get pulled out. There's just too much talent behind him. Keyshawn Helton's there. I think a lot of people are saying Keyshawn Helton is competing with DJ Matthews for that slot. I put right now Helton over DJ Matthews. I don't really give a damn that he had his injury last year. I know that's tough to say. That's a hot take, but he looks great. He has worked on his body, I think, more than anybody has this offseason. And Keyshawn Helton's going to come right after DJ Matthews. And I just think he's a better wide receiver. I do think DJ Matthews is shifty. He's light as hell. But DJ Matthews is going to have to work on, you know, creating some consistency. And, there shouldn't be much more excuses anymore with the chemistry of your quarterback when he's your roommate. So, I think DJ Matthews has some pressure on him and into the fall camp.
SEC Dog wants me to explain how Miami beat FSU. They scored more points than us, just like LSU did to Georgia in the SEC championship game, right? I think that's what happened, right?
Maybe so.
I think that's what happened. Mr. G14 Classified has a question for Logan. Logan, COVID is keeping Miami's recruiting closer to home. What are we looking like behind the scenes? I'm assuming he's saying up in the area, up in the Panhandle area, over in the Jacksonville, the First Coast area. Is Florida State kind of honing in on that area? And James kind of lifted the eyebrows, so James obviously might have a different take on this one.
I like I said, I'm not the deep know all about recruiting, but I do know there was a group of Niceville kids that came in today. I was getting texts too just now. I'm going to be like James. I'm going to throw my flex out there, but this is more of not one the program to get in trouble. But they had a really good visit and they enjoyed it. And the thing is, I still think a lot of these guys, when the game plays, I'm going to say it for the 50,000th time, so I'm going to stop. But a lot of these with recruiting and Miami, man, they're I think there's a whole there's going to be a big difference in the coaching with Miami on that coaching staff than it is in Tallahassee, and that's going to play a difference whenever there's 5 games played in 2020. That's all I'll say.
So right now, we're going to put it out there. One of us is going to be right. Hopefully, 2 people of us will be wrong. Who does Florida State open the season with? James.
Georgia Tech.
You think it's going to be Georgia Tech?
That's my guess. I don't know. That's a pure guess.
Educate, yes, Georgia Tech. Logan, who you got?
I think the safe bet, as I can't go the same, I'm going to go safe bet, Samford. There was rustlings whenever I got the stuff about these games being played. The source was 100% correct, and that source is pretty much spilling beans to everybody right now. I need to get close with that person. But I'm going to go. The crazy one would be Notre Dame. That would be the crazy pick. But that's like that's just the hot take right there.
So you're saying it could be Notre Dame or Samford, right?
Mm-hmm. Now, which game, Jason? Let me ask you a question. Would you rather play Notre Dame right off the bat, or would you rather play them in October?
I think. Honestly, right now, I think with Mike Norvell, first game coach, I think you have to start off a little bit lighter. I think James hit the nail on the head. It's got to be a Georgia Tech, a Pitt. I think it's going to be North Carolina. I don't think the ACC is stupid enough to start off with Clemson, but I think having North Carolina coming down to Doak Campbell, getting that whole Sam Howell experience. I think that's a good enough start, and I think that's kind of a good enough test for Mike Norvell. I don't think you can start off, with a big game at Notre Dame or a big game like a Clemson, or even at Miami. I think you have to start off with something that's talented, but a little bit better.
I will say this though: no matter who we play, I feel a lot better about our defense, and I like Coach Fuller. Yes, there were games where they were very much so AAC, where it was a lot of scoring. But go back and watch what that Ole Miss Memphis game, and what Coach Fuller was able to do. Variety of different blitzes and stunts and different things that these guys should have a lot of fun with. Especially if we're able to utilize the talent and the speed that we have at linebacker. Amari Gaynor, I can't believe I forgot my guy's name.
You can even throw in Deloach.
That's what I was trying to think. Kalen Deloach. Let me tell you about that kid. That's a kid that a lot of people, it's a very quiet kid, not an arrogant, not a loud, boisterous kid. He's gotten some size on him. But man, when you just like when he goes, man, he is explosive. That first step is explosive. So like you catch him coming off the edge and he's able to get up under a tackle shoulders. Like it could be a bad long night for a quarterback.
Who don't you want to play? If you could tell the ACC we don't want to play them the first game.
Clemson.
Aside from Clemson, take Clemson out of the equation. Who's the other team you don't want to see open the season against Florida State? Logan, who do you not want to play first? That's not named the Clemson Tigers.
It would be fun for money reasons and hype, and I love all that kind of stuff. North Carolina. I mean, I think I know there's a lot of hype towards them, but I think they still are going to have a really good offense, and I think Sam Howell would probably enjoy a really good time in Tallahassee and facing. And I think it'd be a good true test too for Florida State and the defense and seeing, they have the talent. All this talk that could they jump up and be their top 25 defense? It'd be a great true test for them. And I think it'd be great film afterwards. If the game doesn't go your way, it's great film to go look at. Could be a really good offense and look back and see, what went wrong, how to get better, and what to utilize. And maybe some guys fit in different packages better than others. Obviously, that'd be a really tough game to start off with, which would be tough for Florida State. You would hope they'd have a little bit of a better, easier opponent. But probably North Carolina for your home game. I probably wouldn't be the best in Florida State's favor. But then again, I'm a guy that likes big games and storylines, and it'd be probably pretty fun.
James, who do you not want to play, not named Clemson?
Just haven't played in it too many times. I just don't want to see Miami Labor Day. Or the first game, excuse me. It's a rivalry game, too much going on. And to their credit, I mean, offensively, you don't really know what they've got. But defensively, you do know. And that D-line is going to be pretty solid, at least in the ones. And, you want to be able to get a little bit of game film to see what they're able to do so that you can know what you need to do.
Yeah, building the chemistry on that offensive line, I think, is going to be big, James, because facing a defense like that in Miami's this year with cats that they have, it's just not a good idea for Florida State. They got to build chemistry. They got to even figure out, if Atkins doesn't like homeboy here, he's going to have to move homeboy over there. They're going to have to figure that out after games. That's the thing that they didn't really get to play around and fool around with during the spring. And you got transfers coming in too. But yeah, that's that offensive line,
I get that I live 10 minutes from the stadium and it'd be a virtual home game for me. I do not want to play Miami that first game. I do not want to risk. I think we beat Miami, and I know that's going to piss off Miami fans. That'll piss off Cam Underwood on Saturday, but I do not want to play Miami. I do not want to risk losing to them for a fourth straight year to open the season, because that will put a damper on everything. Either give me a middle-of-the-road ACC team or Samford, start off the year. We have to realize who we are.
That'll be interesting with the ACC.
I don't want to play Pitt.
I think Pitt's an up-and-coming team.
Got a good defensive line, probably the best defensive line in the ACC, and they always run the ball well. And that's something that's going at both of our weaknesses, our O-line and our run.
Last time we played Pitt in a season opener, we won the title. James, come on. I mean,
yes,
it was
but we also came off of we also came off of winning the ACC championship, and we had a generational talent at quarterback.
You almost went the transgender route.
James Blackman is a generational quarterback.
Well,
not this generation.
Yeah, he's a great kid.
He's a good.
He's a good kid.
So we're gonna end it with this. We're gonna end it with this, and mostly this is a little bit just to piss off Logan in the middle there because he hasn't rolled his eyes one time today. So I gotta make his eyes. Obviously, the big news in the world of college football today came when UConn said, "You know what? We're not going to play football this season." UConn, independent. That's that eye roll there from Logan. I love it. UConn said they are not going to play football this season. They're playing as an independent, so they've already lost some of their games. So the question does have to get brought up there. Logan, hold on a second. Hold on. Obviously, many people are saying it's just UConn. It's just UConn. Don't worry about it. It's just UConn. So I'm going to ask you both. Could you see a Power 5 team, an ACC team, saying, you know what? The risk is just too high. We're not going to play football this season. Logan, you obviously already have the answer in your head. Go ahead.
Do they cancel their basketball or their tennis team? What was it? Their season basketball? They had football? UConn has football?
It was shocking. And now who's UCF going to play in their rivalry game? I know.
I don't.
But in a serious note, could you see a team, and I'm not saying a Florida State or a Clemson or a Miami or Florida, because I think they're going to be like James Coleman, just say, mother F those kids, and just say, you're playing football no matter what. But could you see, using an example, a Wake Forest, a Duke, down here, an FIU, a FAU, could you see a team like that saying, you know what, we're not going to play football this season?
10% chance. Things are churning. The cycles are rolling. The windmills are blowing. We're going to play football. If you don't want to play, then bye-bye. Looks like the ACC, we're ready to roll. I don't see anybody. I mean, maybe those teams that really would hurt them to not have fans. It all depends financially and whatnot. And UConn, their friggin' women's basketball team makes more money, I'm sure, than their football team. So I don't really give a damn that UConn did that. I have practice on Friday, and unless Duke or somebody wants to opt out, go right ahead. If you don't want to play Norvell up there, but I'm not really worried. I saw it today and I was like, ooh, that sucks. And I wasn't worried until a team from the SEC, Big Ten, Pac-12, and ACC start opting out, then I'll be worried. But the UConn thing was kind of like, oh man, feel good for them.
Would you change your mind if, just using for example, Wake Forest comes out later on this week and says, you know what, we're not going to play football, or before the season starts says we're not going to play football?
Would I be worried? Duh, but I don't even think that's even going to happen. You're trying to get a quote out of me, Jason. You're going to try to get a quote out of me, and it's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen here. I've held my statement. I've told you. I've told our guy Nate and Austin, negative Debbie Downies, football is going to happen, and whenever it does happen, I hope you enjoy it.
None of us said football was not going to happen. We just said that a 12-game season wasn't going to happen. I was right. You were wrong. That's all. James, do you think there's a potential that a Power 5 team could not play the season?
Not a Power 5. Not a Power 5 team. The only reason UConn didn't cancel their season because of health reasons. They canceled their season because they couldn't get any games as an independent. When you already have your games scheduled out for you, now you have an obligation to do it. So I mean, I don't foresee that happening right now.
Damn, that was quicker, man. You came in quicker than that. You didn't just ramble on like Logan. That was good. That was quick, concise to the point. I like that.
You're just mad because I kept calling you Debbie Downer.
First of all, it's Ricky Realist, number one. It's not Ricky Rose. It's Ricky Realist here. I don't think it's going to happen either, but I think that it's something to at least have a concern about. I think it's something we should be concerned about. So if Florida State opens the season with North Carolina, when we talk next week, Logan will do 100 push-ups, right?
Oh, wow. I didn't sign up for that right off the bat, but if we need to do it, then let's do it.
So, and who did you say was the opener going to be again? Who was your prediction?
My safe bet was going to be Sanford. I'm just betting it down like on the roulette table. I'm hoping, we'll land on black.
Okay, so if it's Sanford, I will do 100. If it's North Carolina, you do 100.
Wait, if it's what for me?
If it's Sanford, I will do 100. If it's North Carolina, you do 100.
Okay.
And James is over there going, what the hell are these two talking about?
I think heard push-ups and he was out.
No, James, you're not out of this one. We're not going to be doing any push-ups. You're also frozen on the screen, but we can tell you're with us, man. But we appreciate everyone for paying attention this week. The 66th episode of Florida State Football Live with Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Without Mark Rogers, hopefully he gets his power back next week. Hopefully everyone who was in the path of hurricane/tropical storm Isaias is safe. So everyone be safe in your area. Hopefully everyone gets their power back. And we will see you next Tuesday right here to chat Florida State football on Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football.
All right.